experiencing some technical problems. So, yeah, we are live, so hello everybody. So welcome. And yeah, so Piggis will be here in a few minutes, but until then, I suppose, I'll get everything fully set up here. So I'm going to transfer these notes onto the web browser. Why don't I do that? Okay, so hopefully this should... You know what, for this week, we'll just go with the normal note taking app. So guys, welcome. Let's just wait for Piggis one moment here. One moment here. Hello, Piggis. Hello, hello. Anyway, we should get started in a minute, guys, so, we will get started. Just a minute. Once Piggis is up and running here, hopefully, you know, talking on the chat, then hopefully we can get started, because we don't want to exclude Piggis from the podcast. So yeah. Let me test this again. Can I hear you now? Let me try disconnecting and reconnecting from Discord. Perhaps that could help me here. So hopefully you guys can hear me. If you can, you know, say in the chat just in case, you know. But I'll just see if I can hear Piggis now. Hello, Piggis? Oh, I had you... For some reason I had your user volume down there. But I could see, like, I could see a dot every so often. Yeah, I know. I know. That was bad. Anyway, we will get started now, guys. We got some good news today. I've, in fact, put... In fact, I'll show you the GitHub repo with all of the notes. So now you guys can actually see each week's notes on Discord. Not on Discord, on GitHub. So I've actually updated that with all of the recent notes. So, you know. Here you go, Piggis. And I'll show you on stream. So here it is. So you can go by both years that we've been doing this. So 2023 and 2024. You can go into the month. So I have not actually put this this week's notes on here yet. That was stupid. I had them, like, in commit. I was just about to commit that. Let me... 1 second, guys, just as I pull the notes here. Okay, so I should push them now to the GitHub repo. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, so let's not add the useless file. Okay, so add today's show notes. And hopefully you should be able to see those notes now, guys. In fact, I've put it onto a different branch. I've put it onto the all notes branch. So hopefully you should be able to see it from there. What commit? Anyway, this doesn't matter, guys. Sorry about this. But yeah, so hopefully you should be able to see that the show notes. Can you see them, Piggis? Can you see them on the All Notes branch? I've put them on another branch, not the main branch, the other branch. Hopefully you'll be able to see them from there. They are there. Cool. So we can get started. Don't worry, guys. I will make sure to merge the two branches because this one's a useless branch. But yeah, we'll get started, guys. Let's get started. Okay, so hey guys, if you are on the if you're listening afterwards, so hey guys, welcome to the Sandro Linux Community Podcast. It is the 5th of April, 2024. So today we will be talking about a few tech news stories. So we've got Piggis here today, as we usually do. Hello, Piggis. Yes, you are. And hopefully, OBS will pick you up. Just say something quickly, Piggis, just so I can test that. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Let me just see. Is it going through on the stream? Hopefully, OBS will pick you up. Just say something quickly, Piggis, just so I can test that. Yeah, so I'm just seeing whether... Yeah, that would be a good idea. Let me just see. Is this... Okay, I don't think OBS is picking you up. Let me see. Yeah, so hopefully you will be able to see me now, guys. Hopefully you can see the stream now. Yeah, hopefully I'm going out here. Hopefully the stream's going out here. So yeah, I'll back off the mic a small bit. I think I might be a bit hot on the mic, you know. And yeah, we'll get started now. So yeah. Okay, so welcome to the Sandro Linux Community Podcast. It is the 5th of April 2024. It is a Friday, as it always is when we're doing this show. So we do the show at 7 p.m. BST. And it is every Friday. So we will actually be putting the show on hold for a few weeks in the coming weeks. I'll talk about that a bit later. But let's start off with the news. So, hello, Piggis.
Yo, am I here? Oh.
Yes. You hopefully the viewers can hear you. So today we'll be talking about some of the stories in the news. So there's a few interesting ones that we want to cover this week. So let's start off with the main story that we had to start with, okay? So Microsoft is apparently now going to be ending support for Windows 10 in October 2025. So we already knew this, but now there is some more information. So now we actually know how much it will cost to continue using Windows 10 beyond that official end of life date. So officially, the support will end then, but you will be able to pay for a few more weeks of updates, a few more years of updates, I mean. Yeah, so it will cost you, definitely. So it will start at $61 for the first year as an enterprise and business customer. And That will then double to $122 in the second year, and then double again to $244 in the third year. So if you are an enterprise customer, this will cost you a lot of money. So this is per device. So this could end up costing organizations thousands of dollars if they want to stay on the legacy Windows 10 platform. And of course, looking at Statistica, I mean, the latest OS statistics, Windows 10 is still the biggest Windows operating system. So it is not exactly legacy yet. However, Microsoft want to move people on here, and they've been a bit more laid back with Windows 11 upgrade. You want to keep those precious security updates. So it's still 69% of Windows users using Windows 10, and that's compared to 27 on Windows 11. So they really haven't done well at actually moving people over to Windows 11, and it does show in those numbers. Because we're not just seeing that slow move over from Windows 10 to 11. It appears there's still a lot of people on this older platform, and Microsoft, of course, want to ditch Windows 10, but it will be extremely difficult for them to do so. Yeah, so do you still use Windows 10 at all, Pigus?
A little bit, but pretty much, not really.
Yeah.
Mostly I run Windows 11 now when I use Windows.
Yeah, it doesn't break it exactly down here, but I do imagine enterprise and education customers are sticking to Windows 10 a lot more than those on the consumer side. So yeah.
I remember like on Windows 11, Windows 7, how long they stayed with 7 until they migrated to 10.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, they stayed.
I think
Yeah.
Microsoft pressed that they don't want to do the same thing with this.
Yeah, they don't really want to leave a load of people with unsupported software. It could be a security nightmare. I mean, if you think to a few years back, there was like WannaCry with Windows XP, and Microsoft actually stepped in there, and they actually provided a security update for the extremely legacy Windows XP operating system, which actually lost support years before that. So, we do see that Microsoft is willing to sometimes step in for security, and hopefully they do that with Windows 10. They don't just cut off a bunch of people. But if you are a Windows 10 user, I would suggest you either see if your computer is compatible with Windows 11, or of course you could switch to Linux if you feel like doing that. But of course, there's no real easy option if you want to stick with Windows 10. You've just got to pick an upgrade path. Yeah. So moving on from that story, guys. The next story here is in the AI section. So Gmail is next in line for a Gemini-powered AI overhaul, says Android Police. And so Google Gemini is apparently expanding to Gmail, offering AI-generated replies for your emails. So now you can probably look at an email and you can find out whether somebody couldn't be bothered and they actually used an auto-generated response. So I imagine these do look like some pretty textbook responses. I mean, noted, no problem at all. I mean, these are the sort of responses that could be easily generated. Now, it does appear that they could come up with some more advanced ones from using Gemini, and that could be a bit harder to notice. And yeah, it could actually be helpful for replying to emails in a quick fashion without having to spend time manually composing the email. Yeah, do you have any thoughts, Pigus? I mean, it was
The
in...
scary thing, like moving to this, is like you will never know if you're talking to a real human or not.
Yeah, was it just somebody clicking a button and then suddenly they've replied, or could this actually
Yeah.
just be an AI response? Was there actually no human involved? You know, was this just an automated response? We don't really know anymore. Yeah, so that is one aspect that's a bit freaky. But of
This
course,
could confirm the dead internet theory.
yeah, yeah, everything on the internet just totally bots, 100%. In fact, am I real? You don't know that, do you? So, you
don't
know,
know.
I could be, you know, who knows? But yeah, so I do think that I do think this could be helpful for some people. It was already rolled out to messages. So those who use Google Messages already they already have this feature, so that's quite nice. But of course, now it's coming to the realm of email. A lot more professional emails that now might be composed using this. Hopefully, they still use your normal your normal email template, or else, you know, could look a bit weird if you're sending from a company email or something. Anyway, yeah, so of course, yeah, this will be helpful for a lot of users. So, you know, I think overall this is a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're using Gmail, you don't really have much email privacy anyway. You may as well just let an AI read your email. It probably doesn't matter, you know.
It probably already does.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. You may as well take advantage, you know. Um,
Mhm.
And who knows, maybe one day we could have AI which actually learns from the way that you've previously written emails. So you could like maybe get an AI that actually learns from the way that you write emails. So you could actually have a more authentic response. Perhaps that could be a good idea. Anyway, moving on here to the Microsoft story. So Copilot is now getting a GPT-4 turbo upgrade and improved image generation. So this is from The Verge. So they're rolling out priority access to GPT-4 Turbo for business customers. So this will cost you $30 per user per month. So this is probably worth it for some businesses. It could really improve efficiency if you're a big user of these AI tools. You know, perhaps you could justify this. If you're self-employed, perhaps this could be helpful. And yeah, maybe the $30 is worth it. There are plenty of subscriptions in the business space which cost more than $30 per month. So perhaps this could be a good investment. I don't know. You have any thoughts, Pigus?
More AI.
Yeah, it is more AI. You know, I don't know when the AI hype train will die down, but you know, we haven't seen whether this is the peak AI hype or whether there's more to come. We can't assess at current moment. We'll just have to wait and see.
Most likely, this isn't the end.
Yeah, there's most likely more to it. That you know, AI is actually a trend which, you know, has a lot of utility to it. I do see, yeah, there's a lot of utility to it, even more than, for example, crypto was a trend for a bit. And yeah, there's a lot of utility to AI. There was a lot of utility to crypto, in my opinion, but you know, more arguable. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But moving on to a renamed section here, guys. So we've actually added the "and entertainment" bit. So we're now covering gaming and entertainment. So I just wanted to broaden it a bit so we can talk about the next Matrix movie. So the 5th Matrix movie is coming out soon, someday. So apparently the 5th Matrix movie is happening. It's written by Drew Goddard. And yeah, apparently there'll be another Matrix movie. So, of course, there was the original trilogy. That was very successful. And there was the Matrix Resurrections. I have not watched that from 2021. But yeah, I will watch this new movie if it comes out. And of course, there has been some sort of... It didn't exactly do to... The Matrix series has sort of declined in certain people's opinion. When it comes to people... Some people think that the Matrix movies kind of peaked with the first one. I do personally think the first one's the best. But yeah, apparently there will be a 5th one now. So I hope it's a good movie. I will watch it when it comes out. I mean, have you watched any of the Matrix movies, Pigus?
I know. I've been trying to tell myself, like, to start watching it, but it never happened.
Yeah, the first one is like, yeah, it's stellar. But yeah, hopefully this will be a good release. We don't know much about the actors that will actually be in the production yet. But of course, it will be a nice thing to go and see at the cinemas.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Start having a Matrix Martin so I can watch this.
Yeah. 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 I need to probably watch the Matrix Resurrections. Because, yeah, I've not watched that. Anyway, moving on to the next story here. So this is a UK specific story, I guess. It's not exactly specific to the UK, but actually it is. The CEX does operate outside of the UK, but apparently this is specific to the UK here. So they will apparently now offer a gaming repair service. So they already previously offered guarantees on certain goods, such as consoles and basically most of the stuff you could buy from CEX had a decent warranty on it. I think it was 24 months. So that's pretty good for used goods. And now they are apparently offering a repair service. So CEX here in the UK is a massive computer sort of secondhand seller. So you can buy games, you can buy DVDs, you can buy all sorts of used tech. I've bought a few used phones from CEX. So they're up and down the country. They're also in Australia. You can find them in Ireland. You can find them in a few other countries. And yeah, they are a pretty big chain. Sometimes not the best value, but that is besides the point. And yeah, apparently you'll now be able to get stuff repaired from them. And if there isn't actually a way to fix it, you will not have to pay. So yeah, that's a good thing for consumers in the UK. That's currently specific to the UK. Now, moving on to some US news in the global telecommunications space, so in the broadband and cellular section. So the FCC has voted to restore net neutrality, reversing what happened under the Trump administration. So net neutrality was a bit of an issue which people were talking a lot about on YouTube. I remember a lot of YouTubers such as Fiojo, for example, was advocating for the restoration and of net neutrality, and it was quite a big issue on tech YouTube. But now, of course, they have decided with the new FCC board to restore net neutrality. So, to explain to you guys what net neutrality is, just in case you're not aware, I'm sure some of you definitely are, but net neutrality is basically where all broadband sort of bandwidth which you pay for has to be given equal treatment, so there can't be any preferential treatment for specific domains or like IP addresses, and it all has to be treated the same. So that was reversed by a particular FCC director who was quite unpopular with a lot of people in the tech community, but now they have actually restored net neutrality. So this is good news for those in the US. This is good news for consumers. However, of course, if Republicans get back in charge, who knows whether this could be reversed back. So we'll have to wait and see whether a next administration could could change this. But it's a relatively small issue in the political space. But it is an important issue when it comes to tech. Do you have any thoughts, Piggis?
Looks good.
Yeah, it's good news. Good news for those in the US. I mean, they didn't really do much with the lack of net neutrality rules. And in some ways, you could argue that net neutrality rules do sometimes stop companies from doing certain promotions. Excuse me. So, for example, here in the UK, Voxy, they do if you're using YouTube, WhatsApp, Snapchat, you can actually use those without limits compared to other traffic, and that wouldn't be allowed under certain net neutrality laws. So that is one good thing, pro-consumer thing that can happen if you don't have net neutrality. But on the other hand, it could be lead to a slippery slope where you end up with having to pay for certain domains. So you might have to pay more if you want to access, let's say, foreign domains or whatever. So that could be a problem. And yeah, overall, I think this is a net positive with net neutrality. So let's move on, guys, to the next story. So I'll just check that nobody has said anything in the chat. Nobody has commented on anything. I do just need to quickly deal with the noise of a clock in this room, so I can hear a clock. I don't really want that on the end recording, so just for everybody's sake, do you want to fill in for a minute, Piggis? Just say something about some stories or something.
Hello?
Yes, hello. I'm just gonna move this like that. That was an alright throw, I think. I did not throw that to its death, you know. That clock is not broken.
Just kill a clock?
Yeah, it was just a clock. No, it was like an analog clock, yeah.
Did it get hurt?
No, it didn't. It landed perfectly on the correct bit of furniture that I meant it to. So yes, that's all good, isn't it?
Sounded kind of dangerous for the clock.
Yeah, but thankfully it was nice and cushioned, so that clock should be fine. Now,
have you asked it?
Oh no, I haven't consulted with it yet about its general health. I haven't brought it to the doctors recently. I should. Anyway, it is like I think I bought it at like a cheap store that went bust like about 10 years ago. So you know, it's probably good. It's probably like you know, I think we've already had the money's worth from it. So you know, oh well. Anyway. Moving right along, let's not get too sidetracked. Let's move along to the Android news. So, Google has flipped the switch on its Find My Device network for some users. So on one hand, you could say this is a bit dystopian, you know, having all these Find My networks, always being able to be tracked directly down to your device and exactly where you are all the time. However, you could just move to Iona, and then you don't have to. I'm only joking. No, but it is. Yeah. So at least you can take advantage of the fact that you're not getting, of the fact that you're getting tracked. I suppose. That you can actually find your device, if you need to find it because it got lost. So this is a pretty helpful feature for many people. And Google may be catching up to Apple in this department, as I put in the notes. So Google have finally rolled this out. It has been a feature on Apple devices for years now, but we will now actually see it coming to Androids. You have any thoughts, Pierce? I mean, this is good news, I suppose, for people who get their phone lost on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
If you're traveling a lot,
Feels like a
yeah. So
feels like a nightmare being tracked everywhere.
however, you're getting tracked everywhere anyway. If you're using this device with this functionality, so oh well. Also,
Yeah, I never have a GPS enabled on my phone.
yeah, but you still got a cell. You've got a SIM in your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I suppose you could still technically work out your location. It's just it's a bit harder. So yeah.
And then I'll just disable it sometimes.
Yeah, I really hope that doesn't mean I just hear an alarm going off. Hopefully that does not mean my power's just about to go out. Let's hope not. If you do, Piggis, if it does, Piggis, then yeah, that will be bad. But anyway. Okay,
Yes.
I think I'm in the clear. Aside from the fact that you'll now be able to hear a loud beeping noise. Can you hear that on stream, guys? In fact, they just
In Discord.
can you hear it on Discord?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you can't hear it anymore because it's done. But yeah. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Just a friendly car alarm, you know, in a local neighborhood. Love those. Anyway, this should be in the telecom Oh no, it shouldn't. This is actually an Android story. So an autism-friendly mobile browser has debuted in the UAE. So an unusual location, I would say, for such a browser coming out of, but given, you know, some people aren't a big fan of the regime in the UAE, but they have apparently, this company in the UAE, and sign, so ampersand, they've apparently launched this new web browser for those with autism. So it is made in partnership with the Middle Eastern arm of the British firm Saatchi and Saatchi, well known in the UK for being an advertising firm. They did a lot of the conservative ads back in the 80s, I think. I think they did the Britain Isn't Working advert. That was a big campaign. So they're known for making conservative adverts here in the UK. But they're apparently also in the Middle East. And they're working on this browser. On this autism-friendly mobile browser. So you can now apparently download it. So with a smartphone, an estimated smartphone penetration of 96%, the vast majority of people in the UAE have a smartphone. It's probably a higher percentage than this country, to be fair. But yeah, of course, a lot of people in the UAE are using mobile technology, and this is a good thing for those with autism. And even if you don't have autism, disabling autoplay sounds like a nice quality of life improvement to me. I mean, you know, whether you're neurodivergent or not, you know, it sounds like maybe an improvement. It also apparently selects specific fonts. So So it will probably limit the font choice, just so there's some pleasant fonts. And yeah, what do you think about this, Pigus? Want any comment on that?
I
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of
sure.
it as an idea, really, but it's
But like, what is it exactly they doing in the app?
okay, so here is the rundown. So it blocks distracting pop-ups, which all web browsers do these days. Disables video autoplay. Firefox does that by default, I think. Customizes fonts. Okay, that is different. They are actually putting some different fonts on there. Adjusting colors. Not sure what that will do. Maybe it'll just, I don't know what that will do with colors. And simplifying the interface of most websites. So I don't know what this will exactly do. I'll be interested to try it out if I can get my hands on on a device running this extension or this web browser. And yeah.
I mean, it just sounds like they're saying it's lots better than it actually is.
What do you mean by that?
Huh?
What do you mean by it sounds like they're saying it's a lot better than it actually is?
It sounds like it wouldn't really completely um, help.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these are small improvements, but
And if it's like things like you can do with any browser, if you have like extensions, could
yeah,
do this.
yeah. But it's apparently something the UAE government wanted to go about doing. The Ministry of Community Development, were in collaboration with ampersand. I don't know how to say it apart from that. Wider web extension. So clearly a telecoms company wanted to do this. So it's good PR, I suppose. But it is also a browser extension you can use. I'll check it out at some point just to see what it's like. Of course, I'm not personally autistic. But I can try it out. I'll see what it's like. I'm sure there'll be some differences. I don't really know how they're gonna render websites differently. That'll be an interesting one. That's the main reason I would try and investigate it. Because I'm not really sure whether they'll be able to take the content of pages and simplify it. I mean, unless they just use a browser reader mode.
I
And
mean,
that's
in
already
theory,
here.
it looks great.
What do you say?
In theory, it looks great.
In theory, it could be fantastic, but for certain users. But I'm not sure. I mean, is it just going to be reader mode with some font or something?
Sort of. Maybe not as extreme, but yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm gonna try it, and I'll report back. Of course, it will be different for, whether this actually helps autistic people. But yeah, personally, not as a neurodivergent person, I don't know whether this would be helpful. But yeah, I'm sure autistic people will be able to tell, tell the company behind this whether it's helpful or not. So yeah. But anyway, yeah. What are you gonna say? Anything?
Kind of skeptical to their idea.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure whether it'll work, but sure. Anyway, moving on to a bit of a redesign news, which might be hitting your WhatsApp screens soon, your mobile devices. So if you are running Android and you're running beta builds of WhatsApp, you might have noticed this one. So now you will have a bit more of a clean UI. You'll no longer have those green elements. Certain UI elements have been changed. So it hopefully should be an improvement for those out there who use WhatsApp. So I haven't seen this in the app yet, but I don't personally run beta builds. it does look a lot more clean than the previous WhatsApp UI. Personally, I know a lot of people do, sometimes dislike changes to UI, but personally, I think this is a rather positive one. Do you have any thoughts, Pigus? I know you're not personally a WhatsApp user, but yeah. Okay, so apparently you have to go for a while. So yeah. So see you, Pigus. Thanks for talking on the podcast today. I will continue on, guys. Don't worry. So yeah. So hopefully Pigus can be back in a few minutes. Yeah. But yeah, apparently, the redesign does cause some problems. Apparently, the half-baked bottom, apparently, the search bar is obscured. That's a pretty big problem. Okay, so perhaps for now, we should, hold off trying out this beta build because that is a pretty big problem. However, it is a pretty new, cool looking, clean UI. Now, moving on to the next mobile story here. So, the Pixel line of phones are seeing a new feature. So, if you use the phone app on Pixel devices, you'll soon be able to identify unknown callers. So this might only be a feature in the US, I'm not totally sure, but I imagine it will be, because caller identification is a bit different in the UK. There's a website called Telos, I think, which is quite a good website for that. But there are a few different sites in the UK, but there are many in the US. And this app will actually, this feature will actually just be an aggregator of them. So this will just be an aggregator of these services. So instead of being a true caller replacement, this will actually just aggregate those services. So you'll just be able to pick between them, but this will not be a standalone service. Anyway, I don't really have much to comment upon there. So I can remove this story, guys. This is a desktop news story that ended up being the main story. So let's move on to the next story. So, Linux Mint is apparently going to ship Thunderbird as a native. In fact, you know what? Why don't we cover some of the other stories while Pigus is temporarily gone? Perhaps if Pigus comes back, we can cover some of the Linux news. Pigus is a Linux user, so perhaps, it might be good to wait for covering those. Anyway, let's cover the miscellaneous news first, guys. So, Google Podcasts is finally gone in the US. So if you're outside of the US, it will be gone June the 24th. But in the US, you will no longer be able to use it. So apparently you'll now only be able to export your subscriptions. So you should apparently migrate to Google, to YouTube Music. And they are fully killing off the podcasts app here. So this is a move in a sort of set of moves of Google trying to consolidate their apps. So throughout the years, they've slowly tried to consolidate their app ecosystem. So there was Newsstand, and then that got consolidated into a sort of combined app. And yeah, so that got integrated into the Play Store. And slowly, they're trying to reduce the amount of apps that they offer. Maybe just to make it easier to maintain. And now podcasts will be gone for good. So I personally never really used it too much. But it will be gone. So say your last goodbyes if you're outside of the US. And if you're in the US, you can just migrate to YouTube Music. But yeah, shock of the century, guys. Google kills another product. How have I put the same story in the thing twice? Whoops. Let's remove that. Now Disney Plus is apparently cracking down on password sharing in June. So apparently, if you are using your Disney Plus account over more than one location, more than one IP address, I suppose, then you will have to pay for another subscription. So of course this will hit people who maybe have a bit of a complicated family life. Perhaps they share over their subscription with their, maybe separated partner. Maybe you're just sharing it with a friend, which of course they don't want you to do. There's many use cases where people share passwords. And now apparently you will have to pay. So if you're a frequent traveler, this is probably a problem. So if you travel about a bit, you're kinda gonna have to settle on one location, because this could be a problem if you move about a bit. However, for most people, this will be just fine, and you have until June, 2 months to prepare. So you do have some time to prepare for this crackdown. But overall, I wonder whether this will reduce or increase revenue. Because Netflix doing this has increased revenue, not increased their popularity, but it has increased their revenues overall. So yeah. So perhaps they want to follow suit here, and maybe maybe Disney think this could be a good thing for their stock price. Anyway, moving on to the next story here. So California is now offering a right to disconnect. So the right to disconnect has been a bit of a theme in the US for a while now. Ever since the pandemic, people have been talking about this right to disconnect bill, across the country. And now they are actually taking some action on it in the state of California. So if this bill actually becomes a law, workers will have clear-cut hours, and they can just log off, and they don't have to worry about work. So this could be very good for workers in the US and in California. And I do think this legislation could be really good just for workers. Just so they can log off, and they don't have to deal with work outside of work. So basically, they don't have to do unpaid work. That's it. And I don't think this is law in the UK yet. So I hope to see something similar here. But yeah, that's besides the point. Yeah, I'm trying not to turn this into Sandro Linux politics podcast. Let's get back to the news here, guys. So, so the tech news, I mean. So apparently this author has had such a sad event happen to them. I mean, what a sad life. They have been forced to have a blue check mark. So, of course, this is definitely a first world problem. So this is really not a problem for the vast majority of people. Really, you do not need to really care about this. I mean, if you have 2,500 verified subscriber followers who have Twitter Premium, you're most likely a very big creator. So, really, you should probably just take the blue check mark, take it as a badge of honor. Why not? Why not take advantage? And yeah, I don't see a reason not to have this check mark. And I think it's a bit, it's a bit pointless complaining about this. But hey, yeah. A lot of people would want that blue check mark for free. So, people saying, oh, I can't believe that I have to have this blue check mark, seems a bit of a sort of entitled problem. a bit of a problem for people who, have a lot of followers on social media who, who sort of want to say, hey, I don't want that. That's what spammers and people who pay for it have, I mean. So, yeah, I don't really think this is an actual real problem. But hey, I'm willing to hear different opinions on that matter, but, I don't see it. Anyway, moving on to another story. So, this is for those who use the Roku TVs. So, Roku, of course, have their own TV software, mainly for TCL devices for a lot of lower-end budget TVs, with only a few high-end TVs actually using the Roku platform. So now with Roku TVs, you can now apparently see ads. So apparently adverts will now be coming to Roku while you have your games paused. So this is an interesting feature. So apparently if you have, for example, an Xbox or a PS plugged in, so for, specifically a latest generation console, it will be able to apparently display adverts while you're not using it. So, of course, this is a bit of an invasion of the user's, sort of, ability to just be able to, use their device, not be bombarded by adverts left, right, and center. So, we do see Roku trying to pack in as many ads as possible. I do not think that is really something most consumers want. But of course, it is good for making a lot of money on a lot of these low margin devices. So I can see that aspect. So some of these devices might be loss leading. So perhaps that's a good reason for them tacking on these adverts. But it is quite annoying. And this is basically just a way of injecting adverts while you are displaying a certain thing on your TV. And this is apparently a patent which is still pending. So if this is greenlit, as the article says, Roku could try and implement this. However, it is not exactly clear whether they would, or whether this is just a concept that they want to get patented. So let's hope for consumers that they don't, because this will be very annoying if they do. But we can't really rule this out. And if they have decent success, I could see this coming to more devices. Anyway, moving on to the Linux story. Sadly, Pigus is still not here. Sorry, Pigus. But yeah, so the last story here. So, Linux Mint is apparently going to ship Thunderbird as a native deb package, starting with Linux Mint 22. So, previously, Canonical announced in February that they were planning to switch Mozilla Thunderbird, which is the default email client in Ubuntu, to a Snap. And this now applies by default in the latest LTS of Ubuntu. But because Linux Mint does not do snaps, they have decided to ship the default Debian package, the .deb file. However, this does require them to package it themselves, so this does add work for the maintainers. And I wonder, as more and more packages ship as snaps on Ubuntu, whether this workload becomes a bit too much for the maintainers of Linux Mint. I hope they can continue doing this because it's good for the community. Not everybody wants snaps, but of course this could become quite hard if they have to compile all of these different apps as Debian packages instead of snaps, because slowly, as more and more apps are migrated, the workload could become a lot more. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether this is going to become a problem for the Linux Mint devs. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. Just before we finish, guys. In fact, I do want to quickly comment here. So if you are watching on stream, there are a few things that I wanted to quickly note. So if you are interested in seeing some of the previous Sandro Linux community podcast notes, you can now find it on this GitHub repo. So I will link that in the description if you want to check it out. You can see the latest show notes. So you can, in fact, import it into your own news, into your own notes editor. And you can check out the stories and my notes on them. So you can kind of get a bit of a condensed view of the notes. And yeah, you can check that out if you want to. You can, of course, check out sandrolinux.com. And apart from that, I now have a TikTok. You can check that out. sandrolinux.com/TikTok, hopefully. Or, in fact, right now, that's not currently up. So you can go to tiktok.com/SandroLinux. So at SandroLinux. So let me quickly type that in, just to show my account here. So you can check it out if you want to, guys. You can also check out all of that content on YouTube Shorts. Thank you guys once again for watching. Yeah, I will be putting out a review of the Palm Pre, a pretty interesting device. And I'm currently kind of looking at how I can get some custom software running on the Palm Pre. I might even trying to develop my own app for the Palm Pre someday in the future. A little bit of a homebrew application. That could be an interesting project. And yeah, I'm trying out the Palm Pre 2. If you have any advice on that device, guys, if you used it back in the back when it was released, then please reach out to me, because I am currently trying to work on that. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, and share, and see you guys in the next one.